Hello there, and welcome to the third part of the Grand Hierophant Khateps story. In this series, we follow Khatep on his journey to gather all the books of Nagash through an immersive and intense storytelling playthrough of Total War Warhammer. But what happened last time?
He doesn't need these to poke their nasty heads up at a more delicate time. A king shall rise, and henceforth bring with him another army. A well-needed army too, Khatep is aware. Khatep gives up the Temple of Cain for an end to the war with Nagaroth. A painful mistake Khatep is sure not to make.
Victory at the Temple of Adeoth has given the Tomb Kings not only another settlement, but also the strength and determination to push forward and wipe clear any traces of these wood elves. Khatep also secures another settlement. This one comes without fight, but with a slight risk. It is not far from Torox, the Brass Bull, a monstrous and dangerous being who brings devastation wherever he goes. To the north, through the fog of war, she has appeared, Valkia the Bloody. So, perhaps her message was not filled with empty promises. She declared war, and now she has shown her ugly face. At the same time, Sisters of Twilight have made a move towards King Hakros, and with such a new, untrained army, Hakros wouldn't win against a full army of wood elves. Decisions must be made. Khatep must act fast and smart. Khatep mobilizes his army to aid Hakros against the Sisters. He decides that protecting his troops and the area closest to the desert is better. He is willing to lose an outstretched arm in the north. It can always arise again from the desert sand. Instead, a Lich priest is instructed to venture there to cause a bit of trouble with these visitors. If he is to lose this part of the world, he can at least try and make it difficult for them. Back at the Temple of Adeoth, the Sisters have backed down from their advancements. They obviously thought it better of going toe-to-toe with Khatep and the vast undead soldiers he controls. Now, it's Khatep's turn. All the while, Kawatamon, another of Khatep's necrotecs, is causing mischief at the Sisters' homeland, the Witchwood. The Sisters saw right through the ambush and decided to stay put. No matter, while Kawatamon wounds Ara of the Wood Elves at their home, Khatep decides to take the fight to the Sisters, marching both of his armies to her, but they are obviously cowards. Fleeing from the battle and out of Khatep's range, he will have to wait for the next opportunity. Back in the north, Valkia makes her first move against the Tomb Kings by attacking Rakdo Gorge, the furthest away settlement in Khatep's reach. He knew this would happen and isn't too displeased. This will make the revenge all that sweeter. So Rakdo Gorge has been destroyed, and the city turned to ruins. Valkia now looks for her next victim. Khatep must hurry with the Wood Elves to be able to venture back to the north to face Valkia himself. The sly Wood Elves have sent a second army around through the desert to become a strategic threat to the Tomb Kings, while the Sisters retreat to a nearby settlement. This leaves Khatep with yet another choice. Take on the Sisters and risk losing the temple, or lose the temple at a chance of taking down the Sisters. He marches his armies to Val's Anvil by the river and encircles them, trapping them inside. This will start to dwindle her troops, making the strike that much easier. With Khatep's forces busy with the Sisters, the Wood Elves' second army, led by High Weaver Doden, turns around to instead lay siege on Chimerica's spire. He didn't think the Wood Elves would venture that far into his desert. How dare they? They are victorious against the settlement garrison, but leaving it standing in Tomb King control. Khatep decides he will teach them for lingering in his desert, and calls upon the great incantation of Kasar. He awakens the god of the desert, who brings forth sandstorm blasts upon his enemies. These sandstorms will rid the land of the dead of all trespassers. Khatep takes this time to strike the sisters. He is victorious. They are defeated, and Khatep gains another settlement in Val's anvil. Sekere also gets his revenge. With the sisters defeated and their second army struggling in the desert, the rest of the Wood Elves' settlements are left open for taking. But not before High Weaver Doden takes a final stand and attacks the Plain of Spiders, another of Khatep's settlements. She is again victorious, but at the cost of the majority of her army. And while she is still in the desert, her army will only continue to dwindle against the might of the sand. Khatep now marches on Hag Hole, another settlement belonging to the Wood Elves. He will spare no soul. He will continue to attack until the faction is wiped clean. He vowed to destroy the Wood Elves, and that is what he shall do. He marches on the Witchwood and launches his attack. Khatep is once again victorious, and has now claimed all of the Wood Elf territories. He just has to deal with the remains of their army, who are still withering in his desert, and then they will be obliterated. But Khatep doesn't have to wait long. The remaining forces of the Elven army knock on the doors of their former home and find Khatep at the throne. Battle is fought, and the Wood Elves stand no chance. Weary from the desert and countless attacks they have waged against the Tomb King's settlements, and now facing a horde of skeleton warriors, they are clearly finished. And with them falls the Heralds of Ariel. Khatep's control on the world grows, as he now controls the Red Desert, the Witchwood, and also the Doomglades. And now, with the threat completely wiped away from his southern territories, Khatep can now focus on the north, and taking on a real problem, Valkia. Khatep has already ordered King Hakaros to the north to hold some influence, potentially dissuade Valkia from attacking more settlements. And when Khatep is able to join, then will be time to lower his shield and instead raise his sword.